Hey, what's up, world? Welcome back to another edition of the Cigars and Bullshit podcast. Yours truly, DJ Bentley. I'm joined with Steve and Frankie, where we're going to talk about another interesting topic this week. It's about cigars and it's about the bullshit. Let's get into it. Well, I've gone for my my bachelor party, which was in 2014. A friend of mine, he took me, my best man at the time. Okay. We went to Atlantic City again, just hanging out. It was my brother, another coworker, and we hung out. And went to one of their cigar lounges down there, which was cool, which was nice. I don't, like I said, the social aspect for me is cool, but when it comes to smoking cigars, for me with lounges, I find that it's too much going on. You know,
it's
too busy, too much happening.
Right, it's too much happening. There's like 10 guys, and people are talking in this conversation, and you are enjoying the cigar, but then it's more you're less enjoying the cigar, you're more enjoying the social aspect of it.
Right, so you kind of
the
scales tipped in a different direction.
Yeah, it's in a different direction. Well, yeah, you're enjoying the cigar,
but your attention to it might be like 10%
instead of right. We're not now. It's just the three of us. We really are. If we're not talking about something, I'm here and I'm having my puff and I'm kind of like enjoying it. Yeah, you know what I mean? And if you're by yourself, that's all you're doing. You're like, oh yeah, this is
true.
This flavor. You know, you're really into it. So that's my first experience of a lounge. And then we're in Long Island. I mean, there's a bunch of there's lounges everywhere.
Yeah.
And I prefer, even in that, the smaller lounges. The lounge we go to is nice, but
more intimate thing.
Yeah, more intimate. Yeah.
So Frank, when was your first time to a cigar lounge, if you remember?
All right, so I think my first time, because like I said, I got into it a little before I met you. I think the first time was with you. I think it was in.
Lynbrook.
It was in I think it was
it was Matador?
It was Matador. I think it was Matador for the first time. And then we went to Lynbrook, and then I was like, I'm not feeling it over here, because I enjoyed Matador so much for the first time that I felt like
that's your measuring stick.
Yeah, like that right there is a perfect measuring stick. I think it was the first time it was with you. It was with you and Bobby. I just met you guys. We just joined the forum. I just joined the forum. And yeah, we just got into it. We hit it off. But I think it was a great time. Great cigar lounge, very roomy, spacious. They had TVs everywhere, so you got to enjoy a game here and then the news here. That was nice, and their selection was great. The selection is pretty good.
They do have a really good humidor, and the staff is nice over there.
The staff knows what they were doing.
I feel like I'm thinking like completely flip-flopped. I feel like my first lounge experience was Lynbrook.
I think you're right.
Because I think Bobby was the one who invited us to go out that direction.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right now that I think.
And we went there, and we went several times.
You're right.
We would meet and we'd park under the tracks and go inside.
Right. It was.
I think it was there.
It was.
But then we ventured out to here another time and liked it better.
I
hit so many lounges.
I fell in love with the humidor first. I fell in love with the humidor, the selection. I was like, this is a great place already. And then when we finally sat down and we kind of just hung out, I was like, I'm feeling this place a lot. Like, I like it. And then we went back. And we were like, let's go back.
Well, we had, we could talk about a funny experience. We had a weird experience where we had been to that lounge a couple times. And
that's not where the guy goes in. Is that story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it was like the third time we went there.
I felt like their humidor was lacking. And I'm not trying to be like, a snob or nothing, but they had some stuff. It wasn't a ton, and
they didn't.
It was enough to go and enjoy a selection. It was enough to choose from, but it certainly didn't hold a stick to Matador's.
Yeah.
But we went, And I remember going to a couple other places. I think me and Bentley went one time to see a buddy of his at another cigar store, and then we went to another place near that. Might have been like Rockville Center or.
Right. Well, was it Valley Stream? The Valley Stream one was very tiny.
Yeah, they had the entire building.
But their cigar selection.
Their claim
incredible.
is that they have the biggest humidor on Long Island, and I have to say the entire building goes around. It's just a giant humidor.
They got almost. I think they got a lot of brands.
They got a lot of stuff. But they only had about.
Their lounge is small as this. It's my studio.
It was literally like chair, 3 feet, chair, wall. It was this narrow little.
A narrow
like
thing.
they must have at some point said we gotta have a lounge in here, so they took 6 feet and put 2 chairs. And it's like a line of chairs. It might be 10 or 15 chairs.
I mean, so like this is like my studio. So for 3 of us to hang out in here, it's cool. But this is a public lounge where everybody's gonna go in. No, I can't open this to the public. You've had people standing on top of each other.
It was longer, but it was no wider than this.
No.
Yeah. But I know we went there. I know we went there.
I think he's right. It was. Now that I remember, yeah, you're right. Because we just met Bobby. Bobby had the Maserati. He was parking under the train. I was trying to beat so I could get a good spot, at least right somewhere in front. I remember now. Yeah, you're right. You're right. It was Slimbrook, 100%.
But I think we had this is what I'm going to come back to full circle here, is that we had a funny experience where we had sat near the front, and it was a handful of us. I think Bobby brought like Z. It was you, me, whatever.
And then Moishe.
Bobby and Z. No, I think.
No, Moishe was later on.
No, Bobby and Z was sitting with their back towards the door. And some like homeless guy came in with open wounds, like oozing, and it was disgusting. And he just kind of leaned right over Z and said, because he also smoked cigarettes, so he had a pack of cigarettes on the table that he took out of his pocket so he wouldn't squish them. But he was having a cigar, and this guy leaned over and said, "Hey, give me a couple of cigarettes." And we're like, "Whoa!" He caught us off guard, and I looked up and I'm like, "Oh, damn! What happened to him? Did he just get dragged by the train or something?" Like, he was a mess. He was under the influence of something, because he was not rational. He was not coherent, really, and mumbling and this and that. And then like, the guys were trying to eat pizza at the same time. Or like, don't breathe on the food. And not trying to be rude. He gave him some cigarettes, and then I'm looking at the guy who's works there is no further than just right behind you. And I'm like, "Hey, guy, could you help us out here? We're trying to enjoy ourselves, have a conversation, have something for dinner, have a cigar." And you know, this guy came in demanding, and then he's like, didn't just say thank you for having a couple cigarettes. He's like, "Come on, give me more, give me more."
Yeah, he was. Like,
and then the guy said, "Hey, can you leave my customers alone?" And what does he do? He darts him back, locks himself in the bathroom.
He goes, "Oh, can I use your bathroom?"
Yes, he darted him back, he uses the bathroom, locked himself in there for.
We left after
like 20 minutes later, I said, "I'm done." They called the cops to get him out. He wouldn't leave the place and everything. I was like, "This is a mess." I don't know. It was like,
you called me. You said, "Hey man, I had this weird experience."
I think you were supposed to be there that day.
I was supposed to come,
and then I think he came the next day. The next
time, yeah. And we sat up front. It was nice. It was nice up front.
No, it was definitely it was nice.
I remember being apprehensive about going to a lounge because I had the benefit of starting out with fair weather and smoking in my own backyard, or coming over to Bentley's, who was my neighbor, or going to your house and having a cigar. We all sit by a fire pit or whatever, and I really liked that
atmosphere.
I don't want to call it intimate in a funny way, but that the intimacy of just hanging with a friend or two, like you talked about, without all the distractions, and we could talk about what we're learning, what we're trying. We can make our juvenile mistakes or inexperienced brewers,
right.
And and you can say, and you don't feel like a fool. So when I was going to go to my first lounge, my wife was actually encouraging me because she had bartended at one point, and the place that she bartended at was a country club, and they had a cigar lounge. And she said, "You really I think you would like it. It's just a nice, something classy about it, but something relaxed as well. Like you could show up in sweats and work boots, or you could show up in a suit. Everybody kind of just mingles together, and it's you enjoying a common interest."
Yeah.
So I liked the thought of that, and her encouraging me to say, "Go try it," and I did, and I really did like it. But the only downside is I built this beautiful collection of cigars, and when you go, You know, the proper etiquette is buy a cigar there, you smoke it, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they got to pay the rent, right?
Right.
So they're gonna charge you for your cigars, but that's the big negative for me as well. But to the other end of that, you then get to increase your inventory because if you go, you're gonna smoke one. You might see something that you haven't. You say, you know what, I'll do that at a later time, and then you smoke what you enjoy that. And then you come home, you put it in your humidor, and then the next time you got something. Oh yeah, I got a fire. I gotta go. I'm gonna go check that one out because the last time I was there. So it does kind of help you to, keep your humidor kind of stocked.
I find that like we just discussed, the weather plays a big role.
Definitely.
If it's great out, you can stay home and you don't have to worry about taking a ride somewhere, paying an upcharge, none of that. And again, all due respect to anybody with a lounges, they gotta pay the bills.
Yeah.
They have staff, they have inventory, they have overhead for having the place and all the nice furniture and things and the amenities. Like that place they give you, they got people working there, guy or girl, they'll make you a cup of coffee.
Right.
They'll clean out your ashtrays, they'll bring you a drink, and we're always good. We always tip them on the way out and say thank you for taking care of us, and it's why they like us coming. But I don't know. There's just something about just being able to open up the back door and go sit outside and
I think
you could do while you're doing chores too.
Yeah, I enjoyed the summer. A couple of summers, I was working out here, like a lunchtime. I would go right outside.
Yeah. Well, you took full advantage of having the COVID situation.
Yeah, I mean, working from home is where I could just go right on my back patio. Yeah. I have a nice cigar. It's beautiful outside. I'm enjoying my cigar in the middle of the day.
And I'm at work wearing a mask.
You can't really, beat that, So that made my enjoyment of smoking cigars even better. So for me, it's even seasonal outdoor summer activity.
So COVID was good for a lot of reasons.
Hey, listen. It was a blessing but a curse at the same time.
Definitely.
It opened up. I think it opened up a lot of people's eyes also, but I feel like it made people lazy too. But we won't get into that.
I think COVID for me. We discussed not getting into personal things, what we do for a living, things like that. So we won't go there. But for me, I think when we had shut down, when it initially began, and we were worried about people going to be going crazy, and there's no toilet paper and all this other panic shit about getting meat and whatever. Everybody was stocking up in case it was like this giant breakdown in the country, and shit was happening, but I think for me, COVID was a good test on what it would be to be retired, because we got to be home. Other people lost jobs. Some people had the benefit of still working. For me, I was fortunate enough to be in a job where we were simply sent home for 3 months. We were still getting paid, and then we kind of dwindled back to work. We were on like a week on, a week off sort of rotation, and minimal staffing, minimal, dealing with the public, things like that. But that 3 months home, man,
that's spoiled.
I said I'm gonna be a pro at being retired. My wife and I, we went hiking, we walked the dog, and all over. We were upstate in the mountains and everything, and I can't wait to retire. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm not too far off, I think.
I think for me, so it's rare. So the positive part, the way I look at it in some ways, it's rare in life you get an actual opportunity to pause. You have to keep, no matter what, you gotta, even if you're just not going to work, you're gonna be on vacation, supposedly taking a break. But a lot of times people do workations, is what people do. You rarely get to vacation, right? Right. So we've been doing that. Everybody, the whole world has been doing that constantly for so many years, right? So COVID was like, wait a second.
It's like, why?
Pause.
Yeah.
You gotta stop.
It slowed everything down.
Everything stopped, and then even outside, I remember when it started to be like this whole after 3 or 4 weeks where it was like, look, everybody's inside, right? It wasn't really like a whole mandatory shutdown where you couldn't leave your house, but the nature, I'm talking about plants. We had a little rabbit that came in our yard. Our trees, our evergreens, it seemed like they shot up like 5 feet because nobody was like, I guess the pollution levels dropped. It was like, outside nature was an amazing, from that pause.
It was dead.
Growth. It was so amazing to see that. And I was like, we really needed to pause. We really need to, like, we drive too much.
It allows nature to recover too.
Yeah.
Imagine, that was only a few months.
And that was just, right. Like,
What
3
was
months.
that movie with Will Smith and the shepherd, the dog?
Oh,
I Am Legend.
Mm.
Man, you see like the buildings all covered in vines and trees growing off the
That
roofs.
was,
Yeah.
like he's described, that was only a few months.
That was
Imagine
only
what
a few
a
months.
year could do.
Yeah.
Well, I'll
And
give
I'm
you a
not
prime
looking to buy a
example.
Lexus or
You
anything.
mentioned about cars less driving. I had 2 leases, my wife's car and mine, and when the leases were up last year, I wasn't giving those cars back because of what the market was doing.
Right,
They wanted a 7,000 over sticker, and I looked at my car and I'm like, wait a minute, I have a 36,000 mile lease on both of these, and both cars are almost 10,000 miles under.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how much less we drove.
Right.
Same
I
cost.
literally had my lease up in July last year. It's now the end of January, and I bought it out in July, and I just hit 36,000 miles and put a new set of tires on both cars.
Right, right.
You know, I did it for my wife's when she hit 36. I put brand new tires on it, and I just ordered mine and put them on.
Yeah.
So I got 6 more months before I even hit.
Right.
And you know, we're back in full swing with work and everything, so 6 more months that I got out of that
Right,
car
right,
before it even hit 36,000. I think it was like 28
Right.
when I was ready to give it back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I put nothing
So you
on
went
it.
for a couple of months. Look what the change. Again, that pause. It's rare you get to
Like I
do
said,
that.
it woke some people up, but
Yeah.
it did make some people lazy though.
Well, I mean, to the sad end of it. I mean, as soon as everyone was like out of quarantine, if you want to call it that, I mean, people started killing each other again. It's like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
I think I read
the
something.
this is the first thing you do. You start murdering people. Like, what is
The
happening?
divorce rate went up
were-
or something like that apparently
Well,
too.
Oh,
the funny part
Because
about
people were
that.
staying indoors and
funny
they were
part about that,
arguing. I
too.
guess I don't know.
A lot. It messed up a lot of like guys who had like side chicks. Like it ruined their whole because they were like, well, "Where are you? I'm quarantined with my wife." Your wife? What the hell? You know what I mean?
And I
Like,
also
it's like-
understand that domestic violence went up, sadly, because people were home and they were getting on each other's nerves. People were drinking more. They were stressed. Who lost jobs? What are you going to do about it? Where's the money going to come
I
from?
could, yeah, I mean, without
the
that
amount of
though,
stresses that it caused.
without those stresses though, a lot of relationships were tested only because of the fact that, you know, we have a similar story with how we met our spouse, right?
Right.
But then so you
I was
work with your
dancing.
spouse.
I was dancing at
You-
a strip club.
Yeah, she found it.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the Cigar and Bullshit podcast. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Just hanging out with my friends, sharing experiences that help you take away something interesting and maybe some information that you didn't know. So make sure you tune into the next episode where you'll get to know more about us, hopefully more about cigars. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast.